Guys, we were talking about how to protect our money, mine, yours. In this moment of crisis that Brazil is going through, but not only Brazil, the whole world is going through, we are seeing the war in the Middle East. Iran just carried out an attack now against the ship. What does that mean? That the Strait of Hormuz is closed, the price of gasoline and everything in your house will go up, and your money in the bank will lose value. Now, how do you protect yourself? Many of you have asked me how to do this. Well, I brought her here, Claudia Rosa, a businesswoman and angel investor from Shark Tank Brazil, who is a wonderful personality to be here exactly in this moment. Look how God works things out, right? You arrived right at the moment when we were worried.
That's right.
About how to protect our money. Welcome, dear.
Thank you, Shimon Oliveira. I appreciate the invitation and I'm glad to be here. Luis Renato spoke very highly of you here. He said he would come, but he couldn't make it. But it's great to be here with you so we can talk about this topic. Actually, it's not just one war right now. We have 49 active crises. Wow. So we're talking about war, political and economic conflicts. That's true. That's true. Anyway, we have several countries.
Even diseases there in Africa. What's the name? Ebola. Ebola?
Right? Totally. So how is it so? I mean, what we say today is that we live in a polycrisis. So that's not a thing anymore. Remember? In the past, we used to say, let's wait. Let's see how things turn out. Let's invest next year.
True. Yeah.
That whole, let's do it this year, let's do this. So that mindset is gone now.
Did you use to save money under the mattress? You're a grandfather, right? You're not.
Your grandfather? No, but I'm from the savings account era.
From the savings account? Yes. From the collar era? All that stuff? Yes. Crap.
Shortly after collar.
But
I'm from the savings account era, and then I switched from savings to Tesouro Direto.
True.
I switched from savings to Treasury Direct, then I started studying Treasury Direct, and anyway, I stayed with it. But what happens? How do you protect your money? How do you invest? Or how do you not lose money? Is this a good topic for us to discuss? Yes.
And people don't have this education on how to deal with money. It's the pain of Brazilians. Because I don't know if you saw it, but today a video went viral at the time of our recording of a man in São Paulo crying, saying he can't take Brazil anymore. A bearded guy, a hardworking guy. But he said the problem with Brazil is that it's eating up my money. I'm going to work now. I'm going to earn 150 reais, but it's simply not enough for anything.
But it's not just him. I've talked to big business owners, and they have the same feeling, the same perceptions, and even plans to leave Brazil because of this. First of all, those who don't have are not valued here. I really believe that's true. People are not valued. You lose money, you don't have anything, you pay a lot of taxes, and you don't have health care, you don't have education, and most importantly, you don't have public safety. That's true. So besides companies looking to move to other countries, even our neighboring countries here, now families are considering it too. But going back to your topic, how to save money or how to invest during times of polycrisis and everything else, it takes a lot of caution. First, you have to diversify your investments, okay? So I say this because angel investing is high-risk investing, right? When I invest in a company, in a startup, if it fails, I don't get my money back. So it's totally...
What does fail mean? Like the business goes under? If
it didn't work out, it closed down. Oh, what I invested went with it, I don't get it back.
Do you invest knowing everything might go wrong?
I already invest knowing that. And
even AI?
I keep equity in this company. So I have a stake in this company. If this company is dissolved, my money goes with it. So you went too. So is there a riskier investment than this?
No, I don't think so. What about Brazil?
In Brazil, even more so, right?
Because here it seems like, they say, right? You guys are American bootlickers, right? Because today, for us here, Brazilians, let's put it this way, it's a kind of example of a place that sort of worked out. But there, the entrepreneur, the angel investor puts in the money, but he already knows that something good might come out of it. Here too, right? But here, there's a whole system to make your investment go wrong.
Well, these are different times, right? We're talking about the startup market in Brazil over the last 15 years.
True.
United States 50 years ago. Do you have any idea?
Difference.
In the United States, we have 445,000 investors.
And my God, angels?
Angels. Wow. How many do we have in Brazil? I know you.
I know maybe half a dozen.
We have 10,000. We have 10,000.
But it's not even close.
Right? It's not even close. Wow.
Don't do it. And do you think Brazil has room for more today?
The market does. What we don't have are incentives. I see the United States, China, and several others. Israel. They have projects and incentive programs for entrepreneurs, for startups, and everything else. Here, what do we have? On day one, the entrepreneur is already paying taxes.
That's true. You even have to pay a fee just to register your business.
You already pay taxes from day one. So how can you be an entrepreneur in Brazil?
You get drained, right? You need time to...
And there's another thing I really like, which is this. For these countries, the average is as follows. For every dollar that this country invests in entrepreneurs, it returns about $8. Wow, for the government. Here in Brazil, for every real invested, about 5.89 comes back, almost 6 raise. So here's the thing. Why doesn't the government invest in startups and Brazilian businesses like other countries do to support them, right?
Independence, right?
Exactly. So it would be really nice if we had that. It's something I've been working on a lot, right? With several initiatives and support for some governments. But we're still very far from that. So what do we Brazilians have to protect?
Ourselves, we have to, right?
Our money. So here's the thing, a diversified investment. Leave some value there, at least 20 for an emergency fund. If you need it, you can withdraw it easily.
Is that in the bank savings or a small fund? It's in investments.
CDB. You can invest in Selic in Treasury Direct, right? You invest in Treasury Direct, you invest there in CDI, you can make these short and medium term investments, fixed income, but diversify in the following way. If you need 20, it's easy, but it's earning, you can withdraw. The rest, you can even make some investments, even in some stocks, so that you benefit. Today, the Selic rate in Brazil is horribly 14.25. Who benefits from this?
The bank, right?
The bank. And who has money?
True.
Who has money invested? Totally. So what has our government been doing today? It has favored those who already have a lot. Those who already have a lot are managing to get even more.
Those without it but not poor, the government isn't for the poor. It's not.
Did you know there's a catch to that? It's because you.
What you just described is proof that it's really not for the poor. A high interest rate like that.
It's not, right? What happened? Back in 2020 and 2021, the Selic rate was 2%. Wow. What did that help with? It made it easier to get credit in the market. It's easy. I'll make an investment. I'll open another store. I'll open 3 more studios. Why? Because money was cheap. So what did our retail sector do, especially ours? Our retail sector started opening stores, buying others, buying another one, and another one. And now, what's happening today in 2025 with the Selic rate at 14.25? What used to be a benefit in 2020 and 2021 has turned into a loss today.
Wow.
For many retail companies. Why? Because the debt increased. I see, the debt increased.
Because they went into debt to be able to expand. Retail, what do you mean by that? For example?
Supermarkets, our retail chains, our IT and everything.
Are they supermarkets like Havan stores? Havan, okay.
Havan, Magazine Luiza, Extra, Açaí. Açaí just joined this morning. It became valid. Açaí pays for a debt of over 7 million for the year.
And that's just debt, not salary. Can you imagine those 7 million as salaries?
Back then, it was a benefit for him to open. Today, he's at a loss. So I think we need to look at this debt issue and this credit issue. And the government isn't nice. What does the government like? The government likes money and power.
That's true. Look, you said it very well. 80, yeah, Açaí, which is a huge chain, right? Speaking of which, there's a big chain that's also going through this. Walmart is also going through it. All of them.
Our retail has collapsed.
It's not just Walmart, Carrefour. Carrefour is struggling in that regard as well.
Polish shop, which filed for bankruptcy protection.
But Brazilians, 80% of families are also in debt, right? They're in debt. It's not just the big businessmen who got screwed. Let's put it that way. The worker there also got into credit card debt, into interest.
They got into. Why? Because easy credit wins you over.
That's true. No, it's here.
All right.
You need 1,000 from Exato.
And now what do we have? Then the government came and did the following. Okay, you took out credit, you owe money, you're in debt. 80% of families are in debt, and this debt isn't that big.
No, it's true. It's true.
At least 80% is up to 5,000 reais. So what happens? The government then launched a program called Desenrola,
My God.
where they created another program that helps you pay off that debt. So what is it going to do? It will withdraw from your FGTS. If you are a worker, you can withdraw up to 20 from your FGTS to pay the debt. To pay?
With your own money, it's your debt.
With your own. So, and it goes back to the government. Exactly.
And it's your money, right?
It's your money. So what do we have to do? We have to look and question. We have to be suspicious and say, let me understand.
That's not normal, right? It's not normal. And you know what's not normal? This is edition 2, right? That means the first edition of Desenrola Brazil was useless. So this is the new Desenrola. Yeah, everyone got into debt again in less than 4 years because it was this same government that made this debt plan. And forgiving debt is the opposite of an educational process, right? Because the government should, let's suppose, of course, I'm crazy. The government should require citizens to study finance instead of just forgiving their debt.
Exactly. Now, do you want to know another reality we're dealing with here? Do you know why Brazilians are also heavily in debt?
Oh.
Because of the bets, because of the little tigers.
Wow, I felt that. Now, during the World Cup, did you watch any World Cup games on TV? I know you don't have much time.
I watched.
It's betting ads one after another, and it turned into a mess. You know, in the sense of a mess, pardon my language, it turned into an orgy. Do you know why it turned into an orgy? Because it's every betting brand in the same show.
Shimon Oliveira, look, I have a 17-year-old daughter. The two of us were watching yesterday. Assistindo.
The Brazil game, right? At the time.
Brazil's game. But while I was watching the game, they were already winning, right? It was already 3-0. I said, I'm going to pack my suitcase to go to Curitiba. Sweetie, if anything happens there, call mommy. And then there was the break. It started. I said, honey, mommy lost. Mommy, I think I know all the bets now.
My God, I was scared.
She said, Mommy, so many bet ads, so many bet ads. Mommy, I got to know all of them here. And that's exactly what you're talking about.
No, you know what it is? Lula, now I'm going to say his name. Lula, he's speaking out against the bets. But he regulated the same bets. Do you get the point?
He regulated them, yeah. Wasn't it him who authorized it? And then anyway, let's create some controversy about this.
Yeah, but it's just so people understand that it's on purpose. It's meant to weaken society.
One thing is what I say. The other thing is what I do.
Exactly.
Lula is like that.
And there's the moral aspect, because someone who is in debt has no morals. Someone who is in debt has no self-esteem, no confidence, not the slightest.
They have no perspective.
Exactly. Do you think someone who's in debt can start a new business? The guy has to be really resilient to overcome it, right? Because sometimes being in debt is just part of the process. But not in that sense with gambling.
So here's the thing. If you join this Desenrola program and you want to pay off your debts, you have to go a year without betting on games, right? Good, but why wasn't it like this before? I mean, we don't have financial education. We just don't. Not for anyone, not in school.
Nothing, zero.
My daughters go to good schools. They studied in good schools, but they never had financial education. Where?
Why did you learn to have this level of financial education? Because frankly, I had to.
Right? Through hardship. I wasn't born rich. I had to make money. And I said, how do I buy my first car? I was 19 years old when I bought my first car.
Look how cool that is.
And I said, okay, now I have this old car. How do I trade it for another one?
A new one?
I said, in 4 years, I want to buy a brand new car. How do I do that? Then I thought, I have to save money. I have to use my money wisely. So my relationship with money started very early. Why? Out of necessity.
And mindset?
Right? Because I had to sell a car to pay for my college. When I went to FGV, I sold a car to pay for FGV.
You've already chosen. Then I said,
wow, I'm going to go to FGV because I want to get a really cool job. I want to have the chance to make money and then I'll buy another car. Look at that. So I kept making these choices, kept making these changes. But since I also had to help my mom and my family, I always said, okay, part of the money will go to help mom, will go to the house, but part of the money I'm also going to save. So that's my relationship. And another thing I don't like is debt. I've had it before, yes. I had 2 businesses. Have I ever needed credit? Yes. But often when you use credit at the bank, it seems like the bank doesn't like you anymore, right?
They like you until you do.
Just make investments, yeah.
Yeah?
So my relationship with money started early exactly because I needed to, out of necessity.
Out of necessity, because Brazilians want everything right away, right? And then the government, even the education system was set up to cater to that. Look, you can get a small credit to pay off your car in 48 installments, but you'll end up paying for 3 cars. But look at the justification from the managers, from the salespeople. At least you'll already leave with the car. You won't have to wait.
Exactly.
Right? So we've already made good progress on how we can protect our money, haven't we? There are investment funds. There's Tesouro Direto. What Tesouro Direto options are available, for example, when you open up Banco Inter or any other bank?
It's Tesouro Direto, it's Tesouro Direto, it's Tesouro Direto.
You can already put your money in.
You choose there which year you want, which one fits your profile better, and it's still a good investment.
There. And to invest, you have to save a little now. That's the hard part, right? That's how it is, isn't it? Most people say, no, but I don't have any money left to save.
Make sure there's some left over.
How do you save?
Make it left over. You really have to do it. Without discipline, you can't achieve anything in life.
Which means giving things up.
What happens with us Brazilians? We spend a lot and then we just pay bills.
That's true.
What we need to do is develop a mindset to get rich, to make money work for you. We don't have to work for money. Money has to work for you. And how do I do that? When you change your mindset, when you say, hey, I'm not going to spend more than I earn. And a lot of Brazilians still do that, right? They like bills and payment books. It's cultural. My mom is from the payment book era and made a lot of them.
Mine too.
Mine used to make many payment books and I thought it was cool.
Because it was an invention. If you look at that time, right? It was a good invention because poor people could buy a television. In my time, you would pay for a TV, a television, in 20 or 48 installments, and it wasn't just the little payment book, right? It was financing.
It was financing where you had to take the list from Aham there.
But that's it.
The bank would call to confirm your info, so you had to give your neighbor's number. Exactly.
I come from that era, buying a 14-inch TV, yeah, a little one, right? At Casas Bahia, I remember, right? My mom bought it.
She never bought it, right?
Yeah, my mom bought the first TV and the truck came to deliver it and it was on installment payments. But in the long run, this actually created people's dependence on installment plans and not planning ahead. You don't need to plan because if my credit is good, I just go there and finance everything.
If the payment fits in your monthly budget, Brazilians will make a payment. They'll get another installment plan, you know? The installment plan has changed, but the culture is still the same. Do you get it? So Brazilians, and I've talked a lot about this issue of financial education for companies, for people, for entrepreneurs. In general, we need to love our lives. We need to plan. We need to plan a good trip with the family. Anyway, these are things that are interesting. If you don't have planning, if you don't set a nice goal, that's also something cool. Look, Brazilian. If you, like me, when I was 19 years old, said, let me start having a different relationship with money. Why? Because I had goals to buy my first car, then buy the second one, then buy my brand new car, and then I never stopped. So when you have a clear goal, that's a good thing. Let's take a trip. Let's get the family together. Let's take a trip, whether it's to the Northeast, to Paris, or to Greece. Then you can save money for that. Money. When you do that, your mindset automatically changes and you say, wow, that's great. I managed to save money and I was able to pay at least 50 for this trip. Isn't that cool? Cool. You change your mindset without realizing it. You've already started, how do you say it? You've already broken through that barrier. You did it. You said, wow, I can save money. So if you don't have this ability yet to plan or to have the discipline to save money, set some goals for yourself. Like a car or a motorcycle or a trip.
Or an amount, right? An amount.
Piggy bank, right?
I want to save up 100,000, 200,000. I want to save up 1 million. And then exactly. Because you're right about one thing. It's all dopamine, right? It's all dopamine. Look, guys, I don't know about you, but there's no better feeling, well, maybe there is, than having money there at your disposal. No, it's the peace of mind it gives you, just being able to go about your life. It's autonomy. Exactly. You think like this. No, I'm fine. Whatever happens, I have my money there.
You have your safety net there.
And the best feeling is also being able to decide whether you spend the money or not. Exactly. Because when we have debts and all things are tight, you don't get to decide whether to spend or not. When you decide whether you want to spend the money or not, the reward is simply the power to make that decision, and it really completely changes your perspective on money. Does it hurt you sometimes to give up an object, some food or something like that? It hurts at first. Then you look at it and say, no, I could buy 10 of these, but I won't.
Buy something cheaper. Yeah, buy 5.
Buy 5, buy 2.
Buy cheaper, learn how to do that. I think that's what makes the difference. Cool. And again, my daughter, she's 17 years old. But when she was about 6 years old, I had to take her to a lot of events with me because I couldn't miss the events. Sometimes when my housekeeper was away and I had no class, I took my daughters to many events. And then there came a day when she said, Mom, we're already tired of going to events with you. Then I remember that once I got home with them and the youngest said, Mom, I want to work when I grow up, but I don't want to work as much as you do. I want to find a way to work and make money, but not work so much, Mom, because you don't have time for anything. You don't have time. Then I stopped and said, of course I have time. I'm with you. No, you're not with us. And now she's already 17 years old. Next year she's going to college and all, but she still thinks that way. She says, Mom, I want to be a millionaire. I want to start my own businesses, but I don't want to. Even today, she says, I don't want to work as much as you do, right?
She will find out. Hey, at some point if she wants to be a millionaire, she'll find out that she has to work less.
More. No, how does she say it to me? She says, no, she's going to work a lot, but how does she say it? She says, Mom, I'm still going to pay for a trip for you. Look at that.
Now that's something to be proud of.
That's it. But that's what it's about. Sometimes we work so hard as entrepreneurs, we work so much, our schedules are so hectic that sometimes we don't realize that sometimes we're letting opportunities slip by.
Yeah, but don't you agree that the environment, I think it's not just in Brazil, I think it's kind of everywhere? That after a person reaches a certain level, of making money, of working, that the environment is exactly like that. It requires you to put all that energy into it. I think that obviously after a certain amount of money that you've earned and produced, it will depend less on your management or your hours, right? Yes. Because what we have that's most valuable is really our time. So if you really give your time in a strategic way, I think that's your role in this world.
Yes.
It's about giving people a strategy for using their time to make money, because most people don't have a strategy.
They don't have a strategy. That's a chronic problem. Another thing I've been emphasizing a lot, especially in the last 2 years, is that today in my portfolio, I have about 130, 140, 130, 142 companies that I'm an investor in.
That you're an angel investor.
That I'm an angel investor. And then what happens? Yeah, I've been paying very close attention, but besides those that I'm already an investor in and already support and everything, I have hundreds of companies that reach out to me every week. These companies come to me for mentoring, for advice, to validate their businesses and everything, but also 90% of them need what? Money.
Money to get started, right?
To get started or to scale up anyway, whatever stage they're at. Most people who come to me and know my approach are seeking to scale up. I want to scale up. I want to work in other markets. I've already tested my model here. I've been at it for 2 years. It's going well. Now I need an angel investor to support me. But often these businesses aren't really ready yet to receive angel investment. And angel investment takes time, even if you have all your paperwork in order, including for Shark Tank, okay? Even if you have all your paperwork neat and organized, it still takes 3 to 4 months. So what happens then? Sometimes the entrepreneur doesn't have the cash for that.
They need it by tomorrow.
Needs it by tomorrow. So I started working on some lines of credit for these entrepreneurs. But then this line of credit is a little different. And here's how. All right, you need the money, but I want to support you in moving from point A to point B. So during the period that he has this money, that he has this credit, I work. My team and I, we work on mentoring him so that he uses this money well, properly.
Money guidance.
For guidance. So it's a mentorship. So it's credit plus mentorship. That's great.
That makes perfect sense.
And I only give this credit if the business is really worth it. It's worth it.
But if he came to you with water up to his neck, it's because he has some problem.
He has a problem.
Right? He has a problem. That's your advantage over the bank, which hopes he'll get further in debt.
No, if he has an issue, the bank won't let him in, right?
Yeah. If he's got bad credit, him right there, soon. You know, I became a member of a cooperative. I won't say the name, right? Okay. But I became a member of a cooperative because...
A credit union.
Those cooperatives in Paraná? Yes.
I know them. Yes, I know yours, actually.
Because they sold me an idea. No, here it's a community where we help entrepreneurs grow. Okay, I'm screwed. I'm going to join this cooperative because they'll help me. Not at all. Que nada. Not at all. Look, there wasn't even a basic credit card. There wasn't, right? There wasn't any basic credit card with a limit of 1,000 reais there for me to buy cups here for my company.
Well, what do politicians like? Power. And what do banks like? Money. We have to learn the rules of the game. So that becomes easy when we look at behaviors. Yeah. So like if the manager is opening I get a lot of everyday pre-approved credit for this amount. This credit just keeps increasing. I thought, wow, just leave it here.
I just got an offer on my phone today, right now. For those black cards, the top ones, yeah. But when we're broke, you don't get anything, right? You don't get anything. So what do?
But you get a lot of calls.
Of course, look, pay up, sir, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah.
The money. You get a lot of calls. If you want, your phone won't stop ringing.
That's why those who are rich can get even richer, right? So your program is brilliant from what you said. It's brilliant because you reach the people who really need it. All right, I'll help you. But I'll show you the way.
But I'll give it to you, right? I'll help you get out. I'll throw you a lifeline so you can get out.
I'll
take you out.
The rod, I'll teach you to, but...
I want you to...
do it.
Support you. What are the indicators? Because what do? We make a plan. What do you need the money for? Usually. 90% is usually for sales. You're going to hire people for the commercial.
That's true.
Or marketing or technology, AI, right? All of that.
The main issue in Brazil is sales, since that's everyone's pain point.
It's the pain.
People don't know how to sell.
They have ideas but can't sell. I find it easy. Just today, I talked to the Uber driver on my way here. And the Uber driver, right? He's so nice. Every time I'm in Curitiba, he comes to pick me up. Yeah, and he said wow, Claudia, I have a proposal from a friend who already has a pastry shop that's doing well. And he invited me to manage his second pastry shop, right? So I said, okay, and what do you know about pastries?
Damn, this question is a stab too.
What's special about his pastry? And another thing, do people in your neighborhood want to eat pastry? Do people in the neighborhood want to eat pastry?
Nobody does that, right?
We're in love with the idea. I thought about that. I said, no, but do you want to help your friend? Is that it? Do you just want to help your friend? So we have to think differently. We have to look at it from all angles. I said, look, I don't want to rain on your parade, but and it really is your parade. But I said, can we think a little? Let me help you with some questions you need to ask yourself. You today as an Uber driver, what is your autonomy? He said, for example, I pick up my wife and we go out, we go have lunch at home. So I said, so you can have lunch with your wife every day, right? And on weekends I have church, I have family. I said, okay, if you work at the pastry shop, you'll be working every day. Are you willing to do that? Or are you going to leave the pastry shop to someone else?
That's the mentality everyone has, right? I open a business and put exactly
my friend to run it. So I think that's still the mindset. Then he said, Claudia, I think I'll think it over. I said, think hard. And another thing, when we're doing business with friends, we have to think twice because a lot of times it even ends the friendship, right?
Look, the things start with your thoughts, right? You have to learn how to think.
We must learn to think, but how do we reflect?
But how do you teach people to learn how to think? Because thought already...
It's easier.
Today, you already have an idea. Because that's how it is. No, I'll just go there, open a business, make the pastries, put them up for sale, and everything will work out. But there's a question, right? How many pastries do you eat per day, right?
Yeah, and it's not like that, no.
I don't eat them, damn it.
But then exactly. But like I had two big companies that I worked for, PwC, which is a big four, one of the biggest, right, worldwide, and the famous IBM. So I was an executive at those companies. I resigned because I wanted to try something new and become an entrepreneur. So just like Uber brought this up for me today, back then I also thought, what if I leave? What if I quit? What if I create something? I'll tell you this, my life as an entrepreneur was I spent almost 10 years at it, I had two businesses, which is also something very Brazilian. You started a business and then it's going well, not so well. So what's your brilliant idea? Start another business, obviously.
That's true.
So I also had this brilliant idea. So I had two totally different businesses in different areas, and that consumed me. So I had to sell my first business here, which was the e-commerce, and dedicate myself to my real estate business here, which Luis Renato knew quite well. We even exchanged a lot of ideas about that. But what happens? The real life of an entrepreneur was different. So I remember that at some point it took me about 5 years to start taking a salary or a pro labor close to the salary I had at IBM. And there I had my benefits. So we really have to think a lot. Did I regret it? No. Why? Because I created a journey for myself in the market of, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I don't want to be just any entrepreneur. I want to be a specialist. I am a specialist in what I am doing. And are Brazilians willing to do that? Are you willing to really get to know the market you're working in?
You want to study, right?
Your client. Are you willing to bring your clients to this table and listen to them criticize you or the market and everything else? So I was willing to do that, and I was able to succeed many times. We don't succeed 100% of the time, but I was successful because many times I also put myself out there and took the risk. And I also did volunteer mentoring for entrepreneurs. What did I learn? Did you share it? I did share it. So I've already done more than 5,000 mentoring sessions, and I have helped and supported entrepreneurs a lot. And then I said, wow, I also learn, because when you teach, you also learn. And the life of an entrepreneur is not easy, right? So we have all of that. So anyone who thinks they're leaving a company to become an entrepreneur is mistaken. It's a tough journey. Anyone who has an idea, starts from scratch and wants to be an entrepreneur, it's also a journey. The good news is that today we have artificial intelligence and we have many mentors, many networks, and most importantly, many business plans available. So, apparently it's easier today.
Do you agree with what I heard someone saying on social media the other day, saying, look, you need knowledge. You need knowledge to get to that goal to make more money anyway. Just pay for the knowledge. Pay once and for all to those who have the knowledge and speed up your process. No, you don't need to anymore. We're in an era where you don't have to wait 10 years to learn quickly. Pay whatever needs to be paid and make money fast. Do you agree with that, or does it have to be kind of like this? Because I see a lot of people who keep stalling to make it work because they don't want to acquire the knowledge. That suddenly someone might be there willing to give it, right?
What we say in this market, especially with startups, is to test fast. Yes.
Yes.
Did you test it? Didn't it work? Discard it. It has to be quick.
Because the fear is losing the money?
You can't just keep stalling, because here in Brazil, we also have this habit. I'll try a little more. You hired someone, but the person didn't deliver. The person didn't, but okay, but she's nice. Wow, but you stall a lot.
I'll give one more chance.
I'll give one more chance. I'll give a second chance. Yeah, I've already done that. Then it goes and all. We have that ability. Next, you must do the following. Didn't complete it? Here it is. Look, the rules. What are the rules of the game? What are the rules? Here they are. Didn't perform? Okay. And also, in the market, again, it's money. It doesn't forgive. So if you're testing and if it didn't work, discard it. But paying for knowledge today, I don't know. Accelerators. There are no shortcuts. Shortcuts can even be traps. Be careful. Be careful. So what exists? Accelerators. So from the very beginning, bring into your business an advisory board of market experts, mentors, and people who support you. Nowadays, there are many people who do this pro bono, which means free of charge, right? So I think this is very much in line with what you said. And then let's grow.
And speed up.
Let's speed up.
Because when you don't understand a thing, the first question you asked the Uber driver was killer, right? What do you know about pastel? People want to be entrepreneurs for their own dreams, someone else's, or because they see a neighbor succeeding. I have a cousin. I'm from the countryside here in Paraná. And I have my cousin. I say, man, this cousin of mine won't amount to anything. That kid there. We say PR too. We say that kid won't amount to anything. He was really mischievous, really a troublemaker, you know? And in the end, he started a little hamburger joint. He and his wife started selling hamburgers. That won't work. That place will close soon. There are 5 burger joints in the city.
And what did he have? Focus.
He had focus. He and his wife got it, but mainly he went after learning how to stay focused.
Planning.
Because I think one of the easiest businesses to break is this area, right? Fast food, and so on. And
it's a really cool market, right? It's a really cool market because it is
everyone. In fact, I actually have to introduce you to him. I think you're going to like his idea over there.
I can join at the pastry shop.
Got it? Okay, so what led you to, well, you became famous. You became famous on the show, right? At least I got to know you, right? On the show. Yeah, what got you on that show to teach the girls about charm?
So what if I got an invitation from Sony in 2024 to participate as a charm coach?
She owns the format.
Sony. She owns the format, Sony. And I already knew sharks because Carol Pfeiffer is already my partner in some networks I invest in, right? We have pools where we invest in women-led startups. So I already knew Carol. Yeah, I already knew the other sharks, right? I didn't have much contact with them, and I admired them a lot too. So when I got the invitation, I accepted right away. I said, wow, I've known the show
from the very first episode.
From season 1, right? So I thought it was really cool, and I really liked it. I made investments. I made a really great connection with many entrepreneurs. I've always recommended some entrepreneurs to go on Shark Tank, and I still do. Yeah, but it's interesting that a lot of people actually got to know me through Shark Tank. So I was like, wow, Claudia Rosa, Shark Tank Brazil. But my story is that I've already been an angel investor for 12 years.
That's what I wanted to know.
12 years as a mentor.
What did you do that led you to the program?
Angel investor. They were looking for a woman who was an investor, who knew about business, who could... But who are they, the Illuminati? the program Shark Tank Brazil, which was looking specifically to put together the panel, right? So, I mean, a woman who knew about this market, someone who has already made investments and would be willing to participate in the program, which isn't easy, okay? Why? Because we don't get any previews. I don't get any scripts or anything like that. Who I'm going to evaluate, what it is, what the
business is.
That's coming. When that door opens, that's also when I have my first contact there. What changes is that what goes on TV is 15 minutes, 20 minutes of each entrepreneur, of each business. But there, at the time, we end up spending an hour and a half grilling the entrepreneur, right? There's a lot of resilience, plus the show's editing. It was a great and really cool experience, of course. And I think that Shark Tank Brazil, just like other entrepreneurship shows, is very relevant. Yes, it is, because it ends up being educational. If you want to start a business and say, you see that the investors, the sharks, ask certain questions, you'll already look at your pitch. You'll already look at your material and say, wow, if I want Polinario, I want Claudia or Carol or Semisato or other investors with me, I kind of know what they ask. So that's a fact. But my journey started long before that, right? But one thing that remains is my passion for Brazilian entrepreneurs, for Brazilian entrepreneurship.
Yeah, my curiosity is, when did you become an angel investor, right? When did you look at someone else's business and say, I'm going to put money in, I'm going to bet on this business?
It started like this in 2014. In 2013, I was already doing some mentoring. I was helping out here and there, doing that kind of thing. And sometimes I was invited to do some mentoring and so on. And then I got to know startups. I went to some event where they weren't entrepreneurs of specific businesses. They were startup founders. I said, I'm going to mentor these startups. I sat down and started talking. And it was extremely dynamic. It was more dynamic than traditional mentoring. Why? Because there we didn't even talk about personal life. The guy would come, the boys and the girls, he'd say, no, I have this business model. And my goal is to get X% investment because we want to scale. And this is going to be a centaur or a unicorn. And then I said, wow, so let's do it. And I started doing these mentorships. Then I set that traditional mentoring aside. And I said, I'm not going to do so many anymore. Now I'm going to focus on startups because I really like these young people. I thought there's potential here to be more dynamic and everything. I began these mentorships and started closely observing the behavior of these entrepreneurs. So those entrepreneurs who were focused, had fire in their eyes, and were really determined and deeply studied the market, they were quite successful. And they were also able to be more confident when they went to pitch. And when you are more confident speaking, making your pitch, and you have consistency in what you say, the chances of people liking it were much higher. Right? Cool. And then I said, wow, there's the team factor, the engagement factor, the focus factor, the factor of studying the market and all that. And then what I started to notice after a certain period was that those startups I mentored were able to get investment. They received awards. There are some startups that I mentored that received awards outside Brazil and everything, that were in some competitions. And then I said, wow, I think I'm getting good at this.
You have a nose for business.
I said, I think I'm getting good at this, and it's not just a feeling. Because it's a long time. It was a lot of dedication there, And I've always been someone who talks about business, but I also want to know about your life. So how are you, right? So for me, that factor was very important. They even used to say at the time, that's just the feminine touch, right? Because when I started, I think we had 5 women investors, right? At the time, only 2% of angel investors were women. Today, we have between 25 and 28%. Still, we have a long way to go. So then I thought, wow, I'm getting good at this. I think now I can invest too. And I realized back then that I didn't need to have millions. I started my investments with 50,000, 25,000, right? I put 25,000 into one platform back then, and I was invited to do a show on Globo. And I invited this startup to go with me. After 2 years, even from watching the show, a big pharmacy chain came and wanted to buy the startup. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and then every startup I joined as an investor, I would talk to the guys and the girls. Look, I also want to be part of the board. Look, I also want to participate in meetings. So I really got involved. It wasn't just about putting in the money. Besides putting in the money, I was there all the time. So there are startups where I was there from their very first pitch until they were sold, together with my boys. So this dedication too, which I'm telling you about, is the love for the entrepreneur and for Brazilian entrepreneurship. I think when we look for investors, we need to consider that as well. Do I just want the money, or do I want the famous smart money? I want someone who, if I call at 10 p.m., will answer me, whether I have a great idea or if I have a problem. When things are going well, people listen to your ideas, but what happens when you face problems? That's true. I've known entrepreneurs who face depression and problems, but who can they talk to? So I think it's much more than just the investment for me. It's truly love and a passion and purpose to support Brazilian entrepreneurship.
And they say, right, that Brazil has a lot of potential.
We do.
Do you really recognize that it does?
We have potential, we have engaged people, we have millions of registered businesses.
Are Brazilians good at coming up with ideas?
Brazilians are good at coming up with ideas, but they're not as good at execution. Oh, I see. We have plenty of ideas.
There are a lot.
We have ideas, but we don't execute them as well. But today, even in a startup, the average age is no longer in the 20s. It's in the 40s almost. It's already 40, 45 or older. Why? Because then you also add a bit of experience, right? So I think that's a factor. And another thing I really like in the market is working with women in leadership.
Yeah, women. What's the difference between a female entrepreneur and a male entrepreneur when it comes to making the business work?
Look, we have several factors. What happens is that we have some paradigms, right, regarding female and male entrepreneurs. There's a girl and a boy. The boy, he had the idea. He made his PowerPoint at night, came here and sold the idea quickly, and that's it. A woman doesn't. She goes, she thinks, she redoes it when she thinks she's ready, when the business is really validated. So women are much more consistent here. She might lose in terms of timing, but the woman is much more consistent here in many things, right? So I think that we have to learn. So I always tell the girls, let's learn here from the boys. The boys, they're faster. They're fast. They're more daring. Women, they're more reserved here in some things. So this was a problem that we've already noticed has improved. Yeah, another point is that we live in a sexist country.
That's true.
Brazil is a sexist country.
But in practice, I'm talking even in the startup scene.
In the startup scene.
Yeah.
And everything else. So just to give you an idea, of the angel investments that are granted, fewer than 20 go to women-owned businesses. Why? Is it because there aren't women-owned businesses? No, it's because there's something called unconscious bias. You want to invest. If you don't think about it, for example, you said, okay, I'm going to invest. I'm going to choose some entrepreneurs here. If you don't intentionally include both male and female entrepreneurs, you'll forget to invite women. And that's unconscious bias, right? But from the moment I told you, I said, okay, you're going to invite entrepreneurs, so don't forget to include at least some women too, right? And that stopped being unconscious bias. Now you have information. You can decide if you want a panel with both male and female entrepreneurs, right? And then many men still only work here with the guys. So a lot of investments are still directed more towards men than towards women. But some data is especially important, which is this. Startups or businesses led by women have better profitability. So financially, for you to have a business, having a woman in leadership is a differentiator. The women who are leaders in companies today, this is a study done by McKinsey, it's not just Claudia Rosa. I already believed in this 12 years ago, and today we have several studies talking about it. The financial results of these companies led by women are much higher. So, I mean, we have the information, we have this. So, I believe that with all this, in the coming years, we will have more businesses led by women, more investments. But the road is long. And as a mother of daughters and as a woman who's also faced a lot of prejudice, I'm very proud to champion women entrepreneurs and all of that.
And then learning how to deal with it. So,
with this diversity.
With this world, right? Because from what you reported, is there something, have you suffered or are you suffering? Is it resistance? Because one thing is, like you said, right? It's the mental instinctive programming. Look, I'm going to hold an event for entrepreneurs, but then he forgets to invite women. Then you have to say, no, invite both men and women to the event. Then the person says, okay, let's invite men and women. But when it's time to choose who to invest in, you feel there's a preference. The man will look and say, no, I will. There's still this.
There's still.
But then the woman has the
women have more
resistance. Do women have to prove more value?
They have to prove more. Women have to prove themselves. I have to prove myself a lot.
Even today, you have to prove yourself.
There are some things. Women have to prove themselves more. Even in the job market, even in companies. HR departments know this. Women have to prove themselves more. Women have less access to credit. So, I mean, if we open our apps here and the pop-ups you've been getting for credit, yours is probably higher than mine. Really? Really? Really?
Really? I can't believe this.
So what else? Yeah, equity. We still have a lot of things to work on, right? And so I show this real life to my daughters, to my startup girls, to the women who are, I have communities with many women today. I feel a big responsibility in the market because many women say, Claudia, you inspire me or you encourage me to become an entrepreneur. And I always talk about this financial issue, about financial autonomy, and also about the ability to not pay attention to prejudice. I've been through that. Yes, I've suffered. I've been harassed. I've faced prejudice. I've been through a lot of things. Yeah, but today I don't experience that. I think I also went through some situations. But I said, I'm going to learn from this. But I also taught many men about this. I've already been to validation panels. And when it was time, there were 4 boys who presented. And the 5th was going to be a girl. That's when the guys started picking up their phones. I said, look, let's pay attention here, friends. Let's pay attention to our friend over there. Let's also pay attention to our friend. So, and then I said, boys, look, we're going to have at least one girl today. When the girl presents, I want you all so we can talk about it later and see if it makes sense because I want to support her. But since there will be only one, I want to support her. So I also want your feedback. So I would automatically have them write some things down because later I would ask, so what do you think, right, about this entrepreneur? And there are a lot of good things. The girls are great. We have many, many cool things, and we need to work on them. If we start to go into a bit of detail about diversity, we'll get into another factor, which is Black people, right? Black women. I've included this in my investment thesis for the past 4 years, to invest in businesses that have at least one woman. And I also started investing in other cities, and I said, okay, I want to invest in Black women. I want to invest in community businesses from the favelas. And it was really funny because some entrepreneurs started reaching out to me. I didn't really have to go after them, right? So what did I start doing? I started stirring up the market a bit because I'm part of several investment networks. And then I started bringing these deals to them for analysis as well. So I said, guys, look, I need you to take a look at this. Besides being women-led, we're working here. I've been working a lot with diversity issues. I want to work on bringing more Black-owned businesses for us to validate as well. And I started pushing for that. And then it's nice because I do this in a very subtle way, I'm not forcing it. I'm not imposing anything. But I have a lot of people, many company executives, many people who come to me and say, Claudia, I learned a lot from you. I see things through your eyes now, Your questions help me reflect on a lot of things, and I'm happy about that because that's what happens, right? From the moment you don't know, it's unconscious bias. From the moment you know, it's prejudice that you're creating. So I have this concern in the market. I've been doing all this. It's slow and steady work, but I like it.
Claudia, tell us your social media so people can follow you and keep up with your stuff. Maybe even offer you a business opportunity. Well, business is like a pastry shop.
Good businesses are always there with open doors. In fact, on the 29th, there's an event to welcome new businesses. But my Instagram is Claudia Rosa VC for venture capital, and my LinkedIn is Claudia Rosa.
You put it there, simple.
Claudia Rosa, angel investor. Come join me, whether you're an entrepreneur or an investor. It's really nice to have you here in my network and exchange ideas.
Every single day you ask me how I manage to master communication, face the system, and speak to millions of people here on YouTube, on Instagram, on social media. How do you break the barrier of 1 million views without relying on paid traffic or the goodwill of the algorithm? That's why I decided to make a lethal decision. I'm going to open the black box of my method. I'm going to open the doors of my own studio in Curitiba for an exclusive in-person immersion. Pay attention, this isn't a recorded course. It's not a lecture for a crowd. There will be only 10 people at most, 10 spots. For those who are going to sit at this very table with me to learn hands-on about scripting, retention, recording, and how to position yourself with unshakable authority. If you want to stop being invisible online and turn your voice into a weapon of influence just like we did right now, the QR code for this immersion is available. It's pulsing on the screen now, and the link is pinned in the comments and in the video description. This could be your big turning point. This is the moment to dive headfirst into the digital world and, in fact, gain influence and money. And if you're tired of wasting time looking for a good movie or a good series to watch on Netflix or Amazon, we've created a channel with tips on series and movies without woke culture or whining. You check out the tip and enjoy it with your family on the weekend, okay? So the link is in the description, in the pinned comment, and in the card that's showing up on your screen. Now subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and leave a like on the video because it takes work to make. Blend your mind. I'm Shimon Oliveira, and I'll be waiting for you.